All right, when a real tragedy strikes, how a leader responds can tell you everything you need to know about them. Today, we're diving into a fascinating case study where two politicians had to deal with the exact same crisis, and wow, their responses could not have been more different. It really shines a light on two totally distinct playbooks for leadership, one that's reactive and another that's reflective.
So this is really the core question, isn't it? When a deeply personal tragedy explodes into a national political issue, every single word a leader says gets put under a microscope. It's like the ultimate test of both their strategy and, frankly, their character.
So here's the backdrop. The story kicks off with a truly awful tragedy. The nation was pretty shocked to hear about the deaths of film director Rob Reiner and his wife, allegedly at the hands of their own son. Now, this was a deeply personal family matter, but it very quickly spiraled into something else entirely. Right after the news broke, a post from former President Trump popped up that was seen by many as, well, deeply insensitive. It seemed to mock Reiner's anti-Trump stance, even in the context of his death. And boom, a political firestorm just erupted. This put other leaders in a super tough spot. Do you say something? And if you do, what on earth do you say? And this is where our case study really begins. Over in Rutherford County, two local officials decided they had to issue public statements. But as you're about to see, they took fundamentally different paths to navigate this whole messy situation.
Political observers jumped on this pretty quickly, and they identified two core strategies at play. On one side, you had Mayor Joe Carr, who used what's called moral triangulation. On the other, you had Assessor Rob Mitchell, who went with moral transcendence. Now, I know, these sound like complicated academic terms, but trust me, they represent two very different and very clear ways of thinking about leadership.
At their heart, these two strategies really just point to two bigger styles of leadership. One is reactive, responding right away in the heat of the moment, and the other is reflective, taking a step back to look at the whole picture. So reactive leadership is all about jumping right into the conversation that's already happening. The goal is super immediate and specific. You want to correct something or someone who's part of the current news cycle. It's about engaging directly with the controversy as it's unfolding. Reflective leadership, though, does the exact opposite. It intentionally pulls away from the immediate fight. The idea is to avoid getting bogged down in the dirty details of this specific conflict and instead try to set up some broad, timeless principles for how we should all act, now and in the future. So what does this actually look like in the real world? This is where it gets really good. We're going to break down the actual statements from both leaders, and you can see these two theories in action, plain as day. Okay. First up, Mayor Carr's reactive approach. Just listen to how he starts his statement. The very first thing he does is establish his political bona fides. I am a supporter of President Trump. Then he offers the criticism. That setup is just classic. And that right there, that's what the analysis calls moral triangulation, or maybe more simply, policing your own side. See, by confirming his loyalty first, it gives him the credibility to critique an ally without just being written off as another political enemy. It is a very strategic move, designed for the political battlefield of right now. Okay, now get ready for a total shift. Let's look at Assessor Mitchell's reflective approach. Just notice the language. There are no names, no political parties. Instead, he's using these big, almost philosophical metaphors like the great architect of the universe and a person's ledger.
And this just perfectly shows the whole idea of moral transcendence. Mitchell is deliberately stepping around the specifics of the Trump-Reiner drama. His goal isn't to take a side in that fight. It's to lift the entire conversation up to a higher level, appealing to a universal principle about dignity and death that really should apply to all of us, no matter our politics.
The source material gives us this fantastic metaphor that just nails the difference. It says, Mayor Carr is fighting a battle on the field of current events. He's in the game. But Assessor Mitchell, he's trying to rebuild the field itself. He's trying to set new ground rules for how the game is played from now on. So this brings up a pretty big question, right? Is one style just better than the other? Well, according to the analysis, it's not that simple. Turns out, both of these approaches actually serve a vital and very different function in a healthy democracy. Let's break this down. The reactive approach, like Mayor Carr's, has a corrective function. It's seen as really important for the health of a political party because it lets leaders call out bad behavior from within their own ranks, stopping any kind of moral decay. The reflective approach, on the other hand, has a stabilizing function. Its job is to hold society together, to offer a way to lower the temperature and de-escalate conflict, especially when we're all so divided. So,
After looking at the events, the different strategies, and what they're for, what's the big takeaway from all this? Let's get to the final assessment offered by the analysis.
So, we've clearly seen two different paths a leader can take. You have the reactive path, which tackles a specific problem right here, right now. And then you have the reflective path, which steps back to offer timeless principles that are meant to guide us long after today's headlines are forgotten.
Now, while the analysis makes it clear that both styles have their place, it does leave us with one final thought. It suggests that right now, in this super polarized time we live in, the reflective approach, the one that appeals to universal human dignity, that might just be the more sustainable and maybe the more necessary path to finding some civic peace.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question, pulled straight from the source material. In the end, how do we really judge our leaders? Is it by the battles they win in the moment, or is it by the standards they set for the future? What is the true final assessment of leadership? Definitely something to think about.